Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. I wanted to go ahead and record a Redbubble video for you guys today where I kind of want to break down Redbubble's design types into three main categories. If you're listening to this, maybe you're new to Redbubble, maybe you haven't seen any of our paid courses, this will hopefully help you long term with the Redbubble content that you upload to kind of understand what is most optimal for you. And the type of content you're going to create at the end of the day is going to lean to the type of results that you're going to have, okay? So let's go ahead and break down the three. I'm going to give you guys multiple examples, and I'm going to go really deep explaining the different three. And obviously, the people who are, have taken the paid lessons before, the paid courses, the Redbubble Tagger course that we have, the design course, some of you are going to understand where I'm coming from with this kind of stuff. Obviously, if you haven't seen any of my other Redbubble content before, this is going to be a good video because we're going to go deep here. So there's going to be three types that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about interest-based designs, search-based designs, and quantity-based designs. I'm going to explain kind of the three, all right? And this is not how a lot of people would categorize. A lot of people, when they categorize a Redbubble type design, they'll think of the actual design. So for example, here's a picture of a whale shark. They're going to say, okay, this is just, a picture of an animal, and that's a category. I don't categorize it like that because at the end of the day, all these images, well, they're just images. But I think of it from a search perspective, okay? So all of these, I guess you can say, sectors or ideas all derive from a search perspective. And I've talked about this before, but my main intent when I personally sell on Redbubble is I want to make sales, obviously. And I want my work to appear in the search. That's the most important thing for me, okay? To be honest, it's actually more important than the quality of my work. Because if I know that I can appear in search as easy as possible, then I have a clear advantage of others. And then quality is secondary. So let's go ahead and kind of dive into it. So let's talk about the interest-based. This is kind of one of the most interesting kind. And I wanted to give an example of an image here that is 100% interest-based artwork. You look at an image like this, and it says beneath the waves. Before we, without even looking at the tags, based on the art alone, this is an interest-based piece. So really, interest-based pieces have very, very, very low search demand. There's nobody who's going to go out there and search beneath the waves, and when I say nobody, I really mean a very small amount, if any whatsoever, and are specifically looking for something like this, unless it pertains to some sort of movie, a series, a TV show, maybe even a book. Other than that, there's a very small chance of this kind of art being searched for. I want you to understand that. But interest-based art typically tends to sell very, very well for the top few percent. So I want to put things into perspective here. We have things that are probable, and we have things that are possible. In the world of Redbubble, just because something is probable does not mean, just because it is possible does not mean it is probable, okay? If you created designs like these interest-based, of course it's possible for you to generate 5, 10, 20,000 a month on Redbubble. It's possible. Anything is possible. But is it likely? Is it probable? The answer is most likely not. And the reason why I say that is because you have to think of how majority of Redbubble sellers are. The reality is most Redbubble sellers don't have any kind of social media following. They don't have any kind of fan base that is willing to buy their merchandise, aside from social media following, really, because you need the social media fan base that is genuinely interested in what you have to sell. It can't just be random followers, right? So they don't have that. And also, on top of that, right, they're entering this market for the very first time. When you sell a product like this, there's only two ways it can work. Is either A, if you have a base that you can promote this to that is ready to buy now, and then what happens is the power of your tags carries you down the road, or you're going to build a base. And there's multiple ways how you can build that base. It could be part social media. It could also be a little bit part search. but you're going to struggle. This is why I say this is an interest-based design. The search presence is not there for the design, once again, unless there is some sort of meaning behind this design that comes from a movie, a book, something of resonance, okay? So this is an interest-based design. When people see this, if they're interested, they're going to click, they're going to buy. But people are not necessarily looking for it. That's important to understand, especially for the first-time creators out there, okay? This is also, unfortunately, where a lot of first-time artists on Redbubble struggle. I've said this before maybe 100 times back in 2022, so 2 years ago, when I was teaching Redbubble content. And I said Redbubble is not a platform for artists, it's a platform for people who study the algorithm. And what I mean by that is you could be the best artist in the world on Redbubble. It does not mean you're going to make money, because one of the main components is being seen. If I create the best art in the world, it really doesn't matter if it's not getting any traffic. We can all agree on that, right? So that's very important to understand. This is why there's this motif, there's this theme of the starving artist, right? Because they're so focused on the art, but they're not focused on the other practical parts of the business. And it's a business at the end of the day, okay? So this is the interest-based. And don't worry, we're going to come back around to this where I give you guys the full circle kind of view of things. But second is search-based. So search-based art, and this is where you're going to start to understand that there could be a little bit overlap between certain categories or certain sectors, and it's perfectly fine. But search-based art is a type of art where people are going to search. And this is a perfect example of a piece of art that people not only are searching for, but also has a little bit of interest factor in it. And I'll explain why in just a second. But let's go over why this is a search-based piece of art. So the image you have in front of you is a golden retriever sticker. This is purely a search-based image because there are people who search for golden retriever stickers, whether it be on Google or whether it be on Redbubble. There is definitely search demand and search presence for this. Now, it becomes an interest-based design, and it has a little bit of interest involved within it. Why? It's because this is not the only golden retriever sticker on the market. There are other ones. In fact, there are probably tens of thousands. And the difference between someone selecting this and another golden retriever sticker depends on the art that they're seeing in front of them and what they decide to choose. This is why it is primarily first search, but secondary interest. What happens is when you start to compete in niches that are very high competition, like a niche like this, you start to run into a problem where the interest becomes more and more prevalent. It matters more. Because what happens is a consumer looks at all the different opportunities in front of them to purchase, right? And they say, okay, I can pick this one, I can pick that one, I can pick 1,000 more. It's just what piques my interest. Remember that when you have a search-based design, you want to be able to eliminate as much interest as possible, aka you want less competition as possible for a search-based design. Search-based designs typically get the most, I would say the highest conversion rate per impressions or per clicks or views, whatever metric you want to use across the board on Redbubble. And the reason why is because it has higher search intent. What is search intent? In the world of SEO, search intent means that the person who's searching for that specific subject knows exactly what they want, and they have a clear idea of the intention of what they're deciding to purchase. Search intent really comes from an e-commerce type standpoint because at the end of the day, you want visitors to your website who have an intention to buy, okay? And once again, people who took the Redbubble tagging course, they know what I'm talking about because we went over SEO heavily in that course. It's really an SEO course. If you want to check it out, link will be in the description. But anyways, the main focus here is that it has search intent. But because this niche is so common and it has so many competitors, the interest arises within it. This is why I said we're going to come back around and there could be some sectors that overlap. This is a design where it does overlap. There is overlap here, okay? Now, not to say that it's bad. It was probably perfect at one point, but sometimes the competition can overwhelm the situation, and there is a way around that. The only way that you can succeed in a search intent niche with high interest, the only time that you can actually compete and succeed is when you have simple tags that generate sales over time. But you have to ask yourself, how can you generate sales over time? The only way you can generate sales over time is to be seen, which runs you into the gamut of either you're going to do social media, you're going to do Redbubble favorite automators, or you're going to be doing a mix of many different things, or promotion, or whatever the case may be. If I created a great golden retriever sticker and had no source of promotion at all, no social media, no favorite tool, you guys know the Redbubble favorite tool, basic tags, and I just sat there, it would take forever for me to get a single sale. And unfortunately, like I said, most people are running into a situation where they'll upload and they'll make $15 a year, $40 a year, if they're lucky, you know? And it's simply because they're running into situations where there's too much interest, there's not enough promotion. Remember that when you have more interest in a niche, the more the interest rises, the more promotion you will be forced to do to achieve sales. And that is 100% true, unless you're extremely lucky. And remember what we said, there are things that are practical or probable, and there are things that are possible. Of course, it's possible for you to create an interest-based design and make $1 million, but is it practical? I would say it's the same practical level as, it starts raining meatballs out of the sky. It's possible, but is it practical? Okay, let's go ahead and continue. I had a phone call there. Quantity-based. This is where we run into a situation where we know that some competition arises. We can try to maximize on search as much as possible by a secondary means outside of just promotion. And this is a quantity-based approach. And the quantity-based approach is, I wanted to kind of use an example here of this whale shark, okay? If I look here at whale shark, and I do a search for whale shark on a Redbubble here, there's 6,990 designs. At one point, there wasn't. At one point, there might have been 1,000, 1,200, 400, 500. Maybe that was years ago. But let's just use this example, okay? If whale sharks was the sub-niche of my main niche that I'm working in, so let's just say I'm uploading to the niche of sharks, and I always recommend that when you have a Redbubble store, you stick to a niche. It's very important. It helps you from a social media standpoint, but once again, I'm not going to go into that because that's not part of this video. When we talk about quantity, there are many niches where, unfortunately, because of how much competition there is, it's important for you to implement quantity. In a niche like this, let's just say there was 790 results. You're in a position, unfortunately, where if you want to dominate that niche and you want to actually walk away with a significant amount of income, I'm not talking about getting a sale or two a month. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about where, let's say, 40% or more of the sales that come in through that search that you are acquiring, if you want that, which could be easily over $1,000 a month for a specific niche, if you want that, you're going to have to dominate through quantity. And this is, once again, another sector. I want you to understand that not for all designs, I don't always need quantity. There are some niches out there, and they do exist. There are some niches out there where I can upload to 1 or 2 designs that will absolutely, and when I mean niches, I really mean sub-niches, because once again, we pick one niche per store and we stick to it. But there are some sub-niches out there where I can create 1 or 2 designs, I can walk away from that sub-niche, and I will be generating most of the sales. Because I'm adding now multiple different aspects. And the aspect is 2 things. Very, very high search base, because it's low competition and it's searched. But more importantly, or not more importantly, but secondary, I have enough interest because of the quality of the design. This is why quality matters. However, back to what I was saying, in terms of quantity, you're going to run into a lot of situations, especially as an amateur uploader, which is perfectly fine. We've all been there. As an amateur uploader, you're going to force yourself, or you have to force yourself, to tackle a certain niche with quantity. When you create an array, a large array of different kind of solutions for the customer. And in a niche like this, sometimes it might be too big for some people, especially if you're a beginner. I recommend even smaller, maybe a niche with 1,000, 700 designs, but go out there and create 50, 60, 100 designs. Now, what you want to do is you want to pace yourself. If you're normally a beginner and you upload 2 to 5 designs a day, you don't have to go upload 30 a day all of a sudden, right? For me, I put back in the day when, or it's really not back in the day, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when Redbubble had the limit of 60 designs a day, I fulfilled all 60 a day. But everybody is different. Of course, you want to push yourself, but at the same time, you don't want to sacrifice your quantity for quality. Or you sacrifice your quality for your quantity. So what you're going to do is you're going to push yourself a little more than what you're used to. Maybe instead of doing 5 designs a week, you do 10 or 20, right? So you're pushing yourself, but you're not going overboard to where you're doing 200-300 designs a week. You understand? So what happens here, and like I said, the focus of this sector of the type of art that you can create is you're going to have to understand that one design is not going to solve your problem. And simply because you're not going to be doing the outside promotion. I want you to understand that if you're doing outside promotion, if you're doing the social media the way we taught it here on this YouTube channel, and I'm not talking about the other channel, I'm literally talking about what we showed, because what we show, there's no other channel that shows it in terms of social media, because we do some things that people don't necessarily agree with. But the things we show here with the social media, not only does it work, but more importantly, it almost guarantees success long term. And the reason why I say almost is because, once again, you can't control what everybody is going to do. But the point is that there are situations where you're going to have to upload multiple in a specific niche in order to dominate. And multiple could be different for each niche. For some niches, it could be 20 designs. For some, it could be 200, right? It's just all a buildup over time. And through that effort of constantly uploading, constantly working, constantly refining your skills are going to get better into figuring out where the search-based niches, and also your interest ability will also peak because your quality is going to improve. And I want you to understand that the interests is determined by 2 factors: the quality of your work and the competition around you. And I want you to think of it like this. Imagine if you're a basketball athlete and you're the best one in the room. You could be a terrible athlete, but you might be the best athlete simply because everybody else sucks around you. But you could also be then placed in a whole nother room and you could be a pretty good athlete or a bad athlete, right? So in one room, you're fine, you're amazing. In another room, you're terrible. But it's because of the competition around you. You understand? So the point here to understand everything is that beginners most likely are going to try to create some interest-based art. Most likely. The reality is most beginners don't have a high skill when it comes to design. And truthfully, you don't need high skill, but they don't even clear the basics when it comes down to Redbubble. In terms of design now, we live in a time, 2024, where you can access AI and there are different tools, and I highly recommend you invest in some tools that will be able to help you do that. I don't think you should skimp on that, because once again, the important thing to understand that there's two things you need to get sales. You need quantity and you need quality. And when I say quality, there's quality of 3 sections. You have your title quality for SEO search. You have your tag quality to appear in search. And you also have your design quality. And then finally, you have quantity, which is a myriad of products or a myriad of listings that have been uploaded. The more you do those two things, you balance the quantity and the quality, the more your portfolios will improve on all your accounts on Redbubble. You're going to get more sales over time, okay? And this is kind of one of the most simple breakdowns, but once again, people typically start off with the interest. They try to create some really, really good art because that's what beginners think. They think that creating phenomenal art will get the sales. They realize that they're not being seen, so they start doing more quantity. They start banging out designs, and then they start taking the logical approach, and then they start playing chess instead of checkers, and they figure out the steps to be seen, and they do the hard work behind that. They'll start learning about tags, they'll learn about titles, and then they go into search. Whatever kind of metric you want to use, it really doesn't matter. What the most important thing is to understand that this system exists. And every design I could point out of how effective it is in terms of, is it interest, is it search, is it a mix between the two? Because absolutely it's possible. You look at a design like this, and this is mostly interest. And this is actually a design that has been in existence for years now, and I recognize it because I've seen it many times. But this design here is one of the very lucky few that has made it past the threshold of obscurity on Redbubble. Let's be honest, there's many, many designs that are obscure. Nobody really cares about them. Nobody sees them. And to prove that, you have 80% of sellers on Redbubble have never made a dime, have never made a penny. They've never made a sale. And part of the reason why that is because they're not balancing the quantity aspect and the quality. When we talk about quantity, once again, it's the design, it's the tags, it's the title. And then, of course, you have to have the quantity of that, because you can't just create 1 or 2 or 5 designs and call it a year and sit back. Because you can have great designs and you can have good quality, but if you don't do that time and time again, it's really not going to move the needle for you financially. You could get sales here and there, but what's an extra $20, $30 a day, a month going to do for you? It's really not that much. So at least that's in my point of view. I could be wrong for most people. There are some people who are watching this from different countries, but at the same time, it's really not that significant. So once again, guys, hopefully this video helped out. I know I haven't made a Redbubble video in a very long time. If you guys want me to make more, let me know, but I figured I'd just put this video out there as a little basis to help you guys out there who are working on Redbubble. I know I haven't spoken about it, like I said, but I'm still working on my Redbubble stores each and every day. I just don't talk about it because, what am I going to say? I'm always working. Like, you guys already know what the deal is. So hopefully this video helped out. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you guys for watching, and peace out. Bye.